Morning. Welcome to today's class. So the class is based in handstands and split work. So I like to think of this class as a supplemental class to the classes that you're taking with me or other people. Hello. Good to see Eric. And then I'm using it so that you'll develop better handstands, of course, and splits, but also to help with just the fundamentals of yoga. I wish I had a class like this before I started doing like Surya Namaskar. So I do a lot of prep work for wrist and shoulders and hips. And you can always reach out to me if you're ever struggling with something, because kind of the concept for me in terms of practicing early on was just to practice and just to kind of do it over and over and over again, and you can figure things out. A lot of things I did develop, and I was successful with it, many aspects of practice, but then there's parts that I really struggle with. So I wish I always had someone to refer to for questions or working with injuries. So I'm going to be giving some talks on injuries, specific injuries, in the future. So if you're interested in these talks, you can send me a message and I can let you know when I will be doing these talks. So tonight, over the weekend, I have a couple classes, even though it's a holiday weekend. Tomorrow I have a class at 9 o'clock from 10 and 9 to 10. And then on Sunday I have a class from 10 to 11, and that class is on Zoom. So the Sunday's class you'd have to register. So how we're going to start the class is in a seated position. You don't have to sit as I am, but I like sitting cross-legged for these. I'm just going to be moving my body laterally. So as I'm moving side to side, I really believe strongly in spinal waves, and being on the floor or being in a chair is really probably the easiest way to do it. And there's more leverage in doing it this way and in a chair than standing. Because standing, you might not necessarily have as good of a foundation in your feet. So that's why I like being on the floor. So let's say when you're moving around, it's just not, your body's just not available to move more dynamically. Try to use more of your mind rather than your body. So if you can think that your mind is stretching to the sides of the room or toward the ceiling, it really does make a difference. So come back into the middle and just kind of see how the weight is. So some people sit too far back in the sacrum, and some people overextend, and neither are bad, it's just you want to correct that. So I'm going to circle my upper body in a circular motion. And again, I could be really small. I don't have to move very big. But as I'm moving around in space, the same thing is the idea is that I'm thinking that my body can reach out to places that I just physically could not, but it's helping me to move in many, many different directions to change your experience physically and mentally. So circle around in the opposite direction, and then as you circle around, what you can be doing with your legs is you can squeeze the legs in, or you can push the thighs apart. Both are very good in helping you as far as the development of your hips. So if you have tight hips, you'll probably need passive flexibility, which is like yin yoga, but you'll also need active mobility work to help with getting the legs to move better. So come back into the middle, and what you're going to do is just stretch the legs forward, and with the legs forward, you could have the hands underneath the shoulders. I'm just going to push to the feet and just elevate through the chest, and then just let the chest depress down, just let it round a little bit, and then lift up. So this could be the movement. If you want, you could lift the hips up off the floor. So I'm doing this predominantly so for shoulders. So like in gymnastics, there's a big emphasis on getting your arms to be strong and straight for whether it's floor work or ring work or handstands, arm balances. So this is really kind of the same kind of philosophy or theory, nothing that I obviously came up with, but I'm dropping down through the tailbone, and I'm adding more strength in the front of my body to stretch it out. And what I'm going to do is just bring the hips down. It's good to kind of come out of poses because then you can reintegrate. I really love that. So I'm going to push through the feet and elevate through the hips. And then this time around, I'm just going to move the weight around from hand to hand, but make it really small if you've never done this before. And if you could, generate the weight coming forward and then move it back. And then you can move it forward and you can move it back. So I'm going to come onto an all four position. So I'm going to bring my hands underneath my shoulders and my knees underneath my hips. So long. I'll see you later?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can use my mat.
Okay, all right. I'm going to come onto my hands and my knees. Hello. And then you can push through the hands. You can round the spine into a cat stretch. And then you can look forward. You can look up. You can back bend. And then exhale, round the spine. Back bend again. Lift the chin, lift the chest. And then exhale, round the back. So just hold the rounding of the back. This is really, really key in holding a handstand. So when I'm outside and I'm doing handstands on like concrete, I can't bring my knees down on the floor, or I do sometimes, but when I don't, I can keep this rounding and I can lift the knees off the floor. So this is how I warm up. One of the ways that I warm up if I'm doing handstands on concrete where I couldn't bring my knees on the floor. So I'm pushing through the hands and I'm hollowing out, and this is what I'm trying to keep in my handstand. Beauty is you might be able to see your hands in your camera, right? You can do that at any time, and that'll help with understanding how to hold the weight. Right? Come back down with the knees and turn the hands in, and as you turn the hands in, I'm going to do a circular motion, and then as you circle around the hands, it's really to help manipulate the forearms. So if you do, a lot of handstand practice or yoga, it's predominantly handwork, so you want to be able to stretch out the forearms. The more you rotate the shoulders in, not necessarily for range, it's going to help with the development of your upper back. So your upper back may not move as well. This is a very good thing for that. So come back into the middle, and what you're going to do is have the hands just underneath the shoulders, and I'm going to keep my shoulders over my hands just so guys on Instagram can see this. I'm going to lift the heels of the hands off the floor. So this can be really difficult for people. So say it's difficult to come up, you could just hold the up position. The coming up and down is what's difficult for people. Very good in strengthening the hands, the forearms. So come back into the middle, have the hands forward, have the hands underneath the shoulders, round the back, and lift up into a plank. Now, if you could, lower be on the tops of the feet. So this is similar to what we did in that crouch position, but because we're a longer lever, it's a little bit more difficult to hold. So if I was tired, I'd just go back to my toes. Say I was holding this for 2 minutes, I'm not going to, but then you could go back onto the tops of the feet. It's really smart to take breaks when you need it in practice. That's just smart practice. Bring the knees down and then sit back into a child's pose. So bring the arms forward and try to lift the arms away from the floor. So if you have a difficult time having a straight line from shoulders to wrists, this is an active way to kind of produce better alignment in your handstand. But it's more of an awareness than a manipulation. So come back up into all fours and come up into a plank again, just up on the toes, and lower to a low push-up and come up into an up dog. So you can lift the chest, you can broaden your back, try to get more weight in the hips, and then if you could, come back to a low push-up and bring yourself all the way down. And then I'm going to take my arms into a cactus position and then lifting the arms off the floor. So just to help with an external rotation, this is needed for any overhead position. It's probably the simplest way of developing the shoulders for this aspect, but it's not like I like it because it is so simple. That's why I use it so often. So bring the arms down, have the hands underneath the shoulders or further back, and curl up into a low cobra and bring yourself down. So I'm doing this for a couple different reasons. The more you understand how to connect the weight in the hands, the easier it is to balance on them. So it's really having a sensitivity in the hands and the fingers. Like some days I have it really, really well, and other days I don't. So that's why I'm doing this. So curl up into a low cobra. Like when I have a really good handstand practice, it's like I feel really strong, very light, and I can hold a pretty long handstand. Not that, and it's not every day like that. So lift from the sternum, lift through the collarbone, bring yourself forward, bring yourself down. Have the hand just underneath the shoulders and lift up just a little off the floor. So I'm not touching the floor. I'm just hovering. But don't rely just on your hands, get more engaged through the abdomen, and then press yourself back up and go back up into a down dog. And you can pedal the legs out, right? You can move them around. I'm going to come into a plank. Don't have to do every back bend. You could just hold plank. I'm more in like a planche type of prep in terms of plank, right? Lower to a low push-up, come up into an up dog, and go back up into a down dog. Go all the way back up into a down dog. And then just transfer the weight from hand to hand and just walk back. So there's many, many ways to develop a handstand, but this is a good way. This is more simplistic than, say, crawling. Crawling's a great practice. Transfer the weight again, walk it back. Feel which hand you have an easier time holding the weight on, right? Because that's the hand that really is holding you up when you're on your hands. That's the hand that you rely on, right? Not that that's bad. Then transfer it back again, last time, right? And then walk it forward, walking it forward. And you don't have to do this, but I'm going to come down onto the knees. You can obviously hold poses longer, that's why I mentioned that. Turn the hands back towards the knees. This is probably one of the more popular ways in yoga, which is good. It's a very good way. But it's something that if you do a lot of it, I highly recommend other options. But if this isn't an option that you haven't used before, it's a very good option, right? Diversity is key to develop anything, right? So come back to the middle and then just bend the elbows and then come back and then bend the elbows, peel the hands. It's quite more stress on the hand. Really need more, for me, I need more leverage in my left hand, right? Then come back to center. Now I'm going to turn the hands forward. I'm going to use blocks today. And the reason I'm using blocks is really good to strengthen the hands, the wrist, the forearm. So I'm on the second level. You find this unstable, find a different level, or don't use them, right? It's okay if you don't use them. So lift up into a plank, squeeze in through the center of your body, and then carry up into a down dog. As you carry up into a down dog, you can really leverage through the hands, the arms, with the blocks. So you might have really long legs and not as long of arms. So this is a very good way to help develop the upper body. So if I turn the heels out, very good for the lower back. So I'm going to come forward, I'm going to swing forward into an up dog, and then I'm going to pull back up into a down dog. Now take the right leg up to the ceiling and pull the knee into the chest. And take it up again. Bring the knee to the right wrist. Take it up. Bring it to the left wrist. Take it up. Bring it to the right elbow. Bring it to the left elbow. Take it back up again. Bring the knee and nose together. Pull it in and step it forward. And come up into a high lunge. And if you prefer warrior one, obviously that's good. But just open and close the hands. Like if you had something like a squishy ball or like a stress ball, not that you have to squeeze really hard, but make your hands into fists, like if you're squeezing sand. They're very good for the development of the wrists and the shoulders. So come back down with the left hand and take the right arm up to the ceiling. So the right arm is high and the left hand is low. So a couple of deep breaths here. I'm going to bring the right hand down. I'm going to try to get my elbow to the floor and then taking the right arm up. So just the great thing about yoga, and I say this sometimes, is that you feel so good from a yoga practice. And then the combination of something like this and with doing split work or handstands is why I like it so much. So bring the right elbow down. See if you can get both elbows down. This is more to just stretch out your back, your inner thigh. So some people have reached out to me and they said, I really struggle with the Cossack stretch, or this is a big reason why I'm doing this. So come back up onto the hands, come up into a high lunge, and in a high lunge, I'm gonna just straighten the right leg out, just to give the right leg a break. Bend the right knee and come forward and balance on your right foot. So you're in a warrior three. So bring the hands down to the floor if you can, and bring them up, right? As you move through space, or you move, that's where it gets difficult. Same thing with moving your eyes. So bring it down again, step the left foot back, take the right arm up to the ceiling, bring the right elbow down, take the right arm up, right? Bring yourself up into a high lunge, and make it a little longer here. So make it nice and long, and not that I'm getting into a fuller split, but just kind of a taste of it, because that's where you're going. That's what we're doing today. So really long stance if you can. Keep the ribs in. Bring the hands down. You'll step back into a plank. You'll lower to a low push-up. You'll come up into an up dog. And you pull back up into a down dog. So pull it all the way back. Right, come down onto the knees, and what you'll do is stack your blocks for your shoulders. So I'm making a pyramid of blocks or a stack of blocks, and then I'm going to have the hands on the blocks. I'm going to walk my knees back. So you don't have to be in a perfect 90-degree angle, but it's a good angle to be in. And if you're on foam blocks, be careful that you're not unstable, right? Don't fall, don't hurt yourself, but keep your ribs in. Keep pulling back with the hips. And if you I'm a person that really needs more leverage in my upper back. So it's good to kind of hang low here, like a hollow back position, but I could also lift up. So both are really beneficial for me. If you have a lot of flexibility, you might actually find more benefits in just being in a straight line, because then you're getting more stable. Right, walk the knees forward a little bit. Come onto the hands and the knees. Have the hands underneath the shoulders. Again, be up on blocks or not. So lift up. I'm on the tops of the feet. I'm going to lower to a low push-up. Come up into an up dog. And then pull back up into a down dog. So take the left leg up to the ceiling. And bring the knee and nose together. And take it up. And then bring the knee to the left wrist. Left knee, left wrist. Take it up. Bring it across to the right wrist. Take it up. Bring the knee and nose together. Take it up. Bring the knee to the elbow. Left elbow. Take it up. And bring it across. So what I think is really important is the holding and the connecting as opposed to the motion. Take the left leg up. Bring the knee and nose together. Step it forward. Come up into a high lunge. Come with the arms, the upper body. Open and close the hands. Make yourself really small. So when we lie on our belly, just in any abdomen position, you want to keep the ribs moving away from the floor. So as you make yourself smaller here, and you're opening up and closing the hands, try to get the head in the same alignment as the arms. Right? Just straighten the left leg out. Move the hips into more of a frontal plane. Go back to bending the left knee and bring the right hand down on the inside of the left foot and take the left arm up to the ceiling. So pull back through the hips. You're a really basic position, but it's a lot of different poses, right? So bring the left hand down or the elbow, left elbow. Take it up, left hand high, right hand low, twisting to the left. Right. Bring the left elbow down again, just one time, and then take it up. So take it up, right? Bring the right knee down, or keep it up, but just get the elbows down if you can. So elbows come down, just to more stretch out your back. And like I said, one of my objectives is that you feel incredible from practice, not just strong and able, but you feel incredibly healthy. And then come up onto the hands and come up into a high lunge. Bring yourself up into a high lunge. So pull the left hip back. I'm going to load up the front leg. I'm going to come forward into the left foot. And then as you come forward into the left foot, get your hands to blocks, any level, or the floor. Then take the hands up. Again, when you move, you will be unstable, but that's ultimately what balance is finding balance within instability, right? Bring the hands down one last time. The closer you get to the leg, the more you stretch out the back of the leg. Bring yourself back up into a high lunge. And in a high lunge, bring the right hand down, bring the elbow down if that's better. Take the left arm up to the ceiling just to twist it out. Bring the left hand down, come back up into a high lunge, and then straighten through the left leg. So just make it longer if you can. Move that right foot back or the left foot forward, and then sit into a really, really long lunge, which is ultimately the splits. So, and I've said this about alignment before. Alignment has its place, but when you're going into greater ranges, you're really out of alignment, But you're stable, and as you're getting more and more stable, you're getting more space through the right hip. And then what you could do is, just say you overstretched yourself, right? Bring your hands on the inside, and then just walk the feet in a little bit closer. Turn forward, just so that you have an exit. Bring the hands down, because I overstretched myself, right? Step back to a high push-up, lower to a low push-up, come up into an up dog, and pull back into a down dog. So pull all the way back up into a down dog. Now come down onto your knees, move the blocks off to the side, and be down on your hands, and just be in that rounded position. And I know this doesn't look like a lot, but this really is a handstand. So if you don't have a handstand yet, and you don't want to do planks, you don't want to do push-ups, or, again, there's other elements you can use, this is a very good thing. Like when I work on this a little bit, before, in between my handstands, they're really, really solid. It's been one of the more helpful things for me, right? So my tailbone's tucked, my ribs are in, I'm just kind of seeing how I hold the weight. And then what you're going to do is tuck the toes and sit back on the feet. So just to stretch out the feet. And so a lot of the body might be tight, and it might be actually stemming from the feet. So when I work with someone that's much younger in age, their feet sometimes are really, really tight, and it shows in their hamstrings. So maybe you have some tightness in your feet, and that's, again, a reflection of hamstring flexibility, your hip flexibility. So I'm going to use the blocks. I'm going to lift the knees off the floor a little bit, and then I'm just going to bring them down. I'm going to bring them up. So it's working the feet, obviously working better range in the knees. So it's not bad to lean back if that's the case. It's good to, say you want to challenge yourself and not use your hands, you could certainly do that. Right, so come down with the knees, and then sit back on the feet. Right, and so we're going to do our first handstand. Use the wall, do it in the middle of the room. I had an idea today of just doing everything in the middle of the room. Do it if you want. I'll do the second handstand in the middle of the room. But the first one, we're going to go up to the wall, and we're going to practice kicking up. But it's good to get the taste of coming up, but know that that's really not the best way to find good alignment. It's probably the least likely way you'll find alignment, unless you're taking your feet off the wall, right? So go to the wall if you're using the wall. Be like probably about 6 inches away from the wall is a good place to be. And then protract the shoulders, grip the floor, grip the fingertips, use the knuckles, keep that, then lift the hips, and just make your down dog a little short, right? Not super long. Bring the shoulders over the hands. If the shoulders aren't over the hands, it's very difficult to balance.
So keep the right leg down or the left leg down. Decide which leg you're going to lift up, and we're going to swing it up in 3. So we're going to take it up and bring it down, bringing it up and down, and then taking it up and pressing through the hands, and you can decide where you want your feet. So I'm going to come down, and then you could go up again. So people on Instagram can't see this. So I'm going to have my hands underneath my shoulders. I'm going to round my back, and I'm going to swing my right leg up, and I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to bring it up, and then possibly take both legs up. The quicker you take the legs up, the easier it is to balance. Right? Look, if you're looking to the hands, look more to the heels of the hands as opposed to your fingertips. Look to your fingertips, you'll be more in a back bend. So you want to look more to the heels of the hands so you're not overextending. It's good to look back eventually. So come down, go back to sitting, but how you're going to sit is sit in between your feet and sit on the lowest setting today. And if you sat on the highest setting, that's positive too, right? But let's say you're not quite down on the floor. The reason I'm doing this is it's very hot where I'm living. Maybe it's hot where you are. When it's really hot, it's easier to manipulate the body more. So sitting pretty good today. I'm sitting down. Some days I'm not all the way down initially. So if I was a person that couldn't get down, move around a little bit. I'm not talking bouncing or jumping or anything like that, but just move a bit. And you'll be able to get a little bit extra weight. And say it's like, whoa, I gotta come out of this. You tuck the toes, you sit back on the feet. It's all good to do, right? And maybe, say you're like, wow, I have a lot of energy today. Go up and do another handstand. But the reason I'm spreading it out is so that you're not overwhelmed. Like a weightlifter, like that does really, really heavy weight, they'll go like a half an hour or an hour between lifts. That's how much they'll break. So it's good to break things up if that's what you need to do. Right, come onto your hands, and then when you come up on your hands, tuck the toes and pull back up into a down dog. Pull all the way back and swing forward and through into an up dog. And pull back up into a down dog. Right, and then walk your feet into the middle of your mat. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Just rock forward into the hands. Rock into the heels. Move it forward and back. And what we're going to do is slowly roll yourself up to standing. Come all the way up to standing. And then when you're up, I'm going to take my feet up nice and wide. A big stance with my feet. And just practice transferring the weight from foot to foot. And I move better to one direction than the other. So maybe you do the same. So just get used to using your feet. What I said about hands is really the same thing about feet. So like a dancer, for instance, very, very connected into the feet. So you want to be able to connect into your feet. Maybe at not that level, right? But that's the idea, is that you're connecting more into the feet. So I'm going to transfer the weight into my right side. I'm not sitting as low as I can. Just moving into the left. You have an extra weight, like 5 pounds. Fill up a backpack. It's really good because some of you might have a harder time sitting more upright for this. So this is, like I said, about alignment. I'm going further. I'm moving more today than I'm holding, right? Take it slow if that's what you need. You don't necessarily need my cadence or my speed. You can come up. Like, self-practice is the best practice. Like, moving at your own pace, moving at your own intensity is the healthiest practice. Moving with someone else's rhythm or experience or intensity is not always very good. It can be, right? But I'm going to come up and I'm going to sit down. So like in a group setting, we've all been in a group setting, right? You might not be doing everything. Not be able, or you should be. I am sitting pretty low here. I'm pushing my legs apart, getting more into the inner thighs, getting more into the hips. I'm going to push through the right foot and I'm going to lean into my left side
As your hips develop, the stance becomes longer. You could elevate the heel on both feet, and that's a very good way. And, you know, you could sit not as low, right? If I held this for a long amount of time, what I would do is I'd come up a little bit. And then when I was tired, I'd sit lower, and they're both beneficial. Bring yourself back up, go to the right side, sit into the right, not just a little lower than the knee, and then sit a little bit lower, sit down, press the thighs apart, sit down, with or without your hands, right? Now bring the right knee down and in. Could be a 90-degree angle. I'm like in a half frog position. And then I'm gonna come forward with my upper body, and then I'm gonna come up. Good way to keep your back straight is holding a block. You can squeeze into the block. You could go into the inside of the thigh. You can go outside of it. Right? Find lines that you're not as experienced in, and those are healthy lines to work on with healthy borders. You don't have a lot of awareness. Be more conservative with your approach. You have good awareness. It's okay to test, your boundaries, right? That's what any advanced practitioner has done. They break the rules. They try different things. You can do that, but obviously you don't want to hurt yourself. So when I'm down in this position, I'm trying to lift the leg up. I'm trying to push the leg down. Either one is good. So I'm pushing down with my thigh, and then I'm also lifting it up from time to time. You can bring yourself up. You could hold on the foot, right? Pull on it so you don't have good strength in your back. When you pull on your foot, you're strengthening your back. Strengthening your hands, but mostly your lats, right? Lift up, take your right knee over your foot, push through your foot, stay low, bring yourself up, go into the left side, and just say if you're not ready to go down, take your time, don't sit down, because you might not be ready to do that. That's how I did it on the other side. Stay up, really work your legs, bring yourself down, sit all the way down, and then when you sit down, bring the knee in. I say this often in this class, the stronger your legs are, easier it is to kick up. It's the beginning of doing, not that I'm an experienced acrobat at all, but you need strong legs to do any kind of acrobatic, right? It's not just the willingness to do it. So I'm gonna come forward, and then what I need is really more internal rotation on my left hip. That's what I feel the most. I have decent flexibility on my right leg, but I feel it all in my left hip. So if I was practicing on my own, I would address these things. That's what I'd be working on, rather than keeping I gotta hold it 5 breaths, or I gotta do X amount of poses, whatever. So bring yourself up. If you like the block, come forward, come down, lift your sternum, right? If you're down and you wanna push the leg down, see what that's like. And then also think that the leg's lifting up into the chest. So you can pull it up and in. You pull it up and in, you're creating more and more stretch through the back. That's what I feel. And then you can bring yourself back up. Now pull on the foot more if you need it. So you're you're really good. Just hold it longer. Have the left knee over the foot. Use your hands on blocks. Let's say you have a hard time getting up. Use your hands, but try to use your legs more than your hands, right? This is not better without the hands. It's just, there's more to it, right? It's more leverage in the body. That's why I'm doing it. Then push through the left foot, bring yourself back up. And then when you come back up, we're gonna take the legs to a wide position. So in a wide position, I'm just pushing the legs away from one another. I've said this almost every class. Do this in sneakers when you walk around. Use a wall or a chair. Very, very good to do. Say it's it hurts. Bring your hands down. Rely on your hands as much as you need to. That's not cheating. It's just being smart.
You don't want to just be a caveman and just be like, oh, I'm gonna just hold it, because there's a good chance that you could hurt yourself. So I'm either squeezing the legs in or I'm pushing the legs apart, and I'm not really concerned, even if I'm taking a photo of myself or I'm doing a video, I'm not concerned if I'm going as far as I can, because I want to be able to do it tomorrow and the next day. I want to be able to practice dynamically as long as I can. Right, bring the hands down if you haven't already, and just kind of press the thighs up and out. Like think your feet are touching the ceiling above you. All right, and as you get more experience, you could certainly come up. There's other ways to do it. Maybe I'll do it at the end of class, right? Some pulses. So toe heel the feet in, hop the feet in a little bit, bring the feet in all the way if you want to, and then just step the feet in. You're just in a standing position. So take the arms overhead and get small through the front of the body. Drop the tailbone down, lift through the pubic bone. Just move the weight around. Most of my weight was in my left foot, so I'm moving it into my right side. I'm a right-handed person, so I'm relying on my right side more, so the right side gets squished more. It's partially why things lean to the left, for me. I have a bug. And then as I'm pushing through the feet, I'm pulling the ribs in, and then you can exhale, you can take the arms down. So I can see from the side, because I have two cameras here, is that I'm too far forward. So in my handstand, I really want to pull the hips back a little bit. So it's good to use multiple technologies or mirrors or eyes to really see what you need, right? So we're gonna do the second handstand. Bring your hands down just so that people can see me. I'm gonna do it in the middle of the room. Go to the wall. So when you're here and you're rounding, a good way to kind of kick up is to donkey kick. It's not my favorite way of coming up, but it might be a good way for you. So you can bring a weight here, and just maybe you're doing light hops, right? Up. And then when you come up, try to squeeze the legs together. My weight's in the heels of my hands here, and my ribs are in, and I'm pushing through my fingertips, right? It's easier to hold. Those of you that went up and you need to come down, if you can, go back up again. Just keep doing that, and then come back down if you're ready to come down. But like I said, the more you get into this, then the more you can do it. So it's really just kind of getting over it. It's good if you're just getting into this, do it every other day, do it every 2 days, something like that, but then build it up. So come down on your hands, and what you're gonna do is have your hands turned out, and you're just gonna move the weight around. So I'm just moving it into my right hand, into my left. So I love these. These are very good. Really, really great for the wrist. But take it slow, because this can be a lot of leverage here. What I'm going to do is, if I can, turn the hands forward and move it back. So this is a progression from what we just did. And then this is a progression from what we just were doing. So this, more leverage. Which I really like, but maybe it's not good for you, right? And then come back into the middle, turn the hands forward, tuck the toes, lift up into a plank, lower to a chaturanga, come up into an up dog, and then exhale back up into a down dog. Just go all the way back up into a down dog, right? And then come down on the knees, and then when you come down on the knees, sit back on the heels again. So sit back on the heels, nice and tall, nice and upright. Have the hands beside you, lift the knees off the floor, bring the hands forward, take the hips up just off the heels, bring yourself up, bring yourself down. So your legs are getting stronger in the most shallow bending of the knees and the deepest part of the bend. The in-between range is not bad, but when I start to get to here, my legs are not as engaged. The more you pack the knee, the greater the strength is. So bring yourself up, bring your arms down. I'm just doing this more for conditioning. Again, it'll help you with kicking up, help you. I'm gonna do some back bends. So bring the knees down, bring the feet flat, sit back on the feet, and take your right hand back behind you. And slide it back, work it back. So what and then if I can, I'm gonna get to the elbow, and then I'm gonna lift up. I'm gonna bring my elbow down, my right elbow down. It's really simple, but there's such a great leverage in my upper back here. It's like gold. You can lift the heel, or lift the elbow up, and then come back, tuck the toes, lift the knees off the floor, bring the arms forward, bring yourself up, bring your arms down if you need to, bring your arms forward. Slow, 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 control the way down. You could be higher up on the toes, more calf muscle, right, engaged. Bring the hips down on the heels, bring the knees down, come back down, sit on the feet. Then take the left arm back, so the left arm straight back behind you, and then I'm just turning, and then I'm gonna get to my left elbow, if it's there, right? It is not better on the elbow. Tune into the sensation, and you might be like, wow, this is way better up high. Right? Don't get caught up in aesthetics, because aesthetics might actually hurt you, right? I'm never really caught up on an aesthetic or an alignment. Sure, there's guidelines too that you want to keep sometimes. Then lift the elbow up and bring yourself back up. And then if you can, sit in between the feet again. Pull the skin back on the knees, and then as you pull the skin back, then there's less pressure on the patella. So this could be your pose. You could sit, you could squat. You know, I'm not doing that today, but I'm gonna do some back bends just because it's really warm here. It's easy to do, you know. Good to forward bend. We're gonna do the splits one more time, but after we do the back bends. So I'm gonna tuck the toes, lift the knees up, right? I'm gonna bring myself up all the way to standing. I'm gonna do some rotational sissy squats, drop backs, whatever you wanna call them. But the rotation is really what's gonna help with opening up the front of the body. So you're using extra weight to do that. So I'll use a block just so that, but think of, you know, use a stool or a chair. So come up on the toes, and when you come up on the toes, just look to the floor. Keep the tailbone down, keep the abdomen in, rotate. You know, if you're not close with the block and you've never done this before, just practice this, right? And then bring yourself up. So maybe not using the block if you're not gonna go all the way back. The block is really, if I was gonna go and touch my foot, I could do that. But you can go back with the block, and that's what I'm gonna do now. But if you haven't gone to a chair and stood up, start that way. But if you've done the chair with me before, or someone else, you know, this is a good progression. You can go to the block. So I'm going to the block. I'm bringing the weight into the hand, and then I'm gonna push through the feet. I'm gonna lift myself up. So I wanna rotate. I wanna keep myself upright. I'm gonna go back to the right side, bringing it down. Again, if you're on the highest level of the block, gotta be careful because it could kick out. So push through the feet, lift yourself up. I'm gonna do the other side. I'm gonna come up on the toes, lift the heels. I'm gonna reach back with the left hand. Maybe for the heel, maybe this is a good spot, and then I come up. Know when to come out, right? If I go back, I'm going back, I'm pushing through the feet. I'm engaging through the front of my body. Glutes are engaged. I'm gonna bring myself up, possibly with a little bit of momentum, bringing myself back up. I'm gonna do one more, just because I wanna do one more. If you're done, you sit down on the floor. So I'm gonna come back up. I'm gonna reach back. And I do this more with my hands, so it's actually more comfortable for me, because I just do it more throughout the day. when I'm walking with my son, I go in the park. These are some of the things I'll use because I don't need a yoga mat then. You can come up on the toes. I can reach back for a chair, park bench, a tree, right? But I'm going to bring the weight forward and bring myself up. And take the legs out wide. Get yourself upright just to counter the back bend. I'm up in an upright position. So I've said this before, side splits most likely is more challenging than you. You know, it's rare, but it's easier for some people, but it'll help with more of the front splits. But it's the front splits that we're gonna work on more. So just bring it out wider if you can. Take the arms out wide. Open through the shoulders, open through the chest. Take 2 more breaths. And then toe heel the feet in closer. And then when your feet are closer, if I say we're gonna do the splits, just think of which foot you wanna do first. That's the good side, that's the easy side. So I'm more inclined to go to my left. I'm gonna do my right first. So I'm gonna go into my right side. So if you have a chair, have a chair support on the left side. So I'm just gonna make it nice and long. As I make it long, I'm going up. And then, you know, you don't have to sit as low as you can to benefit in this. And there's other good ways to do this, but I like this just because I'm hoping that it'll be something that you're like, oh, I can do this again throughout the day is my idea behind it. And it's all back hip for me. For you, it might be something else, right? What you could do is you could put a block underneath the hamstring. It could be underneath the calf muscle. So like, let's say I'm like, I want to try for 2 minutes, but I couldn't hold it. You know, support yourself for some of the 2 minutes, and then you could support or come down, and you'll notice it'll get easier. I'm not really concerned with getting all the way down ever. It's just more of a way of adjusting my body. So you could take the foot in, toe heel the feet in, or come to the middle, stand up. You can go to the left. I'm in an upright position. Again, I'm making it really long here. As I make it long, I'm going to bring the blocks on the right side or the left, whatever you prefer. They're both good. 2 chairs are really great, you know, for this. So get your upper body upright, turn your body to the left foot. And again, you'll feel majority of the pressure is in the hip for me, but for you, it could be the hamstring. For some people, it actually could be the spine. So if I had, you know, especially with back problems, you know, not that I would do the splits, but long lunges, upright, they're very good. It's the forward bending that can really hurt people. You're healthy, it's a healthy thing to do, right? So bring the block underneath the hamstring, and then it's okay to lean forward. You want more leverage in the leg, lean forward. You want more leverage in the hips, be back, right? It's a leverage game. You could stay on the toes or untuck the toes. I'm just down for a little bit. My tendency is to roll my foot out, so I'm not that that's bad, right? I'm gonna rotate it in, and then I'm gonna get more leverage into my right hip, right? So I'm gonna tuck the toes on the back foot. You may wanna make it a little shorter because we're gonna come up to active, like an active level. So I'm gonna lift myself up. Again, I'm using my blocks as much as I need to. You don't need the blocks. You know, you can be up on the hands, arms wide. Bring the hands down, and then bring your hands to the middle. As you bring your hands back into the middle, take your feet out about the width of your shoulders, a little bit wider, and then come down into a squat. Turn the feet out if you need it. It's a great way to squat. Very good for the hips. Have your feet wider if you need it. You know, like to probably might not have the flexibility in the ankle or the knees or the hips or the spine. So it's okay to be really wide initially, and then you can narrow it out. It's not better closer together. It's just, that's the tradition in yoga, is feet together for like malasana. But yeah, that's quite demanding. My feet are just, more neutral. So bring your left hand back behind you or beside you, and then just come into the left hand and stay, right, of course, right? But lift yourself back up into a squat. Go into the right hand. Go into like somewhat of a 90-90 stretch. Push through the right hand, come up into a squat. Go into the left hand, into the left hip. Press through the left hand, bring yourself into a squat. Go into the right hand. It's good work pushing through the hands, especially if you don't have a lot of strength. It's good to use your feet more. You want to get stronger in your squats and, just mobility of the hips. So have the weight in the left hand or the right. Sit back into a squat. Bring the feet into a Baddha Konasana. Push the right hand into the right thigh. Resist. And then as you're resisting, push the thigh away as well. Like push it out. So it looks like my leg is getting lower, and it is. But I'm trying to move it more and more out. And then you can take it out. You can bring the left hand into the left thigh. I'm pushing into the thigh. I'm lifting the thigh up into my hand. Right? My left hip, at some point maybe I should get it's good. But I'm just out of curiosity more like getting an MRI on it because it's so different. My left side feels so different than my right. Just out of, as a teacher, being more curious of why my body feels the way that it does. It's good. It works very well. Just more like interested in why my right side works so dramatically different than my left. So I'm pushing my thighs apart. I'm lifting myself up. And then I'm going to bring, my hips were a little bit up, right? Something you could do. I'm going to bring my hips down, and then I'm going to take my legs out wide. And with my legs out wide, I'm just going to move the weight forward a little bit. I'm going to rock forward. I know these look strange. You do them in a gym, people will be like, what are you doing? But rocking adds more leverage. And where I feel the leverage is more the inner thigh. I've made some videos with doing some weighted Upavishta Konasana. In the fitness world, they call them pancakes or gymnastics, right? It's all the same stuff, it's just different names. Some different theories and approaches. But I'm rocking to adjust the inner thighs. That's where I need it the most. I can get pretty good down and low. We'll do some side stretches. You can go out to the left. I'm just pulling up to the left. I'm posting up with my left hand. You could reach for the foot. You could reach for the right arm. Side bending to the right. So turn the upper body to the right. You can grab the foot. You could strap it, right? Bring yourself back up. Reach to the right side. Get low. Post up. Right elbow supports the head. You could have the left hand behind the head. I really like this option. If I couldn't grab the foot, I like having the hand behind the head. It'll get you lower, then you could grab the foot, and then you could grab the right arm is grabbing the left leg. So turn the upper body to the left, and then bring yourself back up. And then I'm gonna come forward. I'm gonna try to rock forward into my hands. So when the hands are turned out, it's less pressure in the wrist. So when you get into like presses, like handstands, it's better to have the hands turned out initially. So we use a little bit of momentum initially. So rocking forward and then timing it and then going back. Timing the when I come forward and I rock forward, I'm bringing the weight into the hands and then I'm bringing it down. So the more you do it, the more you'll be able to push through the hands, be able to come up. And the forearms really push the thighs apart, so it's like a lot like the blocks. So you're welcome to stretch more, do more stuff. I'm just gonna end the class in a seated position. So just sit
Sit cross-legged. Have your right hand on your left knee. Twist your body to the left. Turn your body to the right. Have your left hand on your right knee. Elevate yourself up. Turn to the right. And then you can turn yourself to forward. And if you got a mirror or take a picture of yourself, it's so good to look at yourself and see your posture. It's self-study. You're studying yourself. That's the objective of Hatha yoga or any mindful practice. So I hope you had a great class today. If you enjoyed the class and you're benefiting, you can Venmo me or PayPal me. A friend of mine said, a good friend of mine, and I'm not going to say his name, but he said, should I be paying for classes? I mean, if you can afford it, it helps me teach people for free. There's a lot of people that I know that are out of work. So that's why I'm doing these classes, is so people can take classes for free and I can support them. So if you're financially able and you can support me and my channel, you can go to my YouTube channel and you can just like it or share it with people. That helps me as well. So I hope you had a great class. Let me know how it's going. Let me know about the visuals and the audio. Let me know how I can make this better for you, and I'll do my best. So have a beautiful weekend. If I don't see you, happy 4th of July if you're an American. All right, namaste.